YouTube. Welcome to day 4 of the 31 Days of Tarot Challenge hosted by Ethany. I'll leave a link in the description where you can see all the prompts, and you can always search the hashtag on YouTube to see how other tarot tubers have been responding to these prompts. So for day 4, the question is top 5 tarot books of 2018. For this one, I can't even cheat. There is no way to make it so that I have read 5 tarot books in 2018. As I described a little bit in my video on tarot for the uptight intellectual, which I'll link in the end cards if you're interested, when I read a tarot book, like a traditional kind of tarot book that has a definition for every card, I take notes on every card. That is how I operate. So I can't really read them like for fun super quick. That just isn't going to work very well for me. So there are 2 tarot books that I did read in 2018 that I do actually really like, both of them. So I would recommend. The first one is Tarot Reversals for Beginners, 5 Approaches to Reading Upside Down Cards, and that is by Lisa Robertson. I found this to be really interesting. Like, I don't know that every single reverse interpretation I agree with, particularly the court cards. I tend to kind of have trouble with other people's readings of the court cards, but I really love the way Lisa gives 5 different techniques, rather than, she does go through each technique for each card and what that means to her, but you can also just use the techniques to come up with your own reverse meanings. And for me, reversals is very much about accessing a menu of different ways of reading and figuring out what works well in the particular reading, what kind of interpretation resonates with you. So I really liked her techniques, particularly a couple that I hadn't really seen much before, or a few, I guess. One was the protective aspect. So sometimes the card is reversed because it's either like protecting you from the upright, or just like you need more time or something like that. The mirror, which I've been thinking a lot about mirrors in tarot and how different cards reflect things back to us, and the retrograde, which kind of takes an astrological concept and applies it to tarot, and you think about like what would the retrograde energy of the card be. So I would recommend that, particularly if you're new to reversals, or if you just have felt kind of like stuck around reversals and you want to enliven that. And then the other one that I just recently read is WTF is Tarot and How Do I Do It by Barbara Ventner. I was pleasantly surprised by this book. Like, I kind of was like, do I really want to read like another random tarot beginner book? It seemed very similar to the first one I read, which is Modern Tarot by Michelle T, which I did really like. But it has a sort of similar approach of talking about the cards and then giving personal anecdotes or stories to illustrate them. That works really well for me, though, and of course Barbara has completely different stories from Michelle, and so I definitely was surprised to find like a lot of things about the cards that still resonated with my interpretations, but were also kind of new for me, and sparked new ideas. And I found myself making a lot of connections in this book and being like, oh, like this was the light bulb. You know, I think this is a really good book actually for people who are beginners, but also for people who aren't beginners and maybe have a few different interpretations of each card in their head, because I found that I was just pulling things together really easily after reading this book. Especially very specifically if you've taken some of Lindsay Mack's courses, which I love, and love her interpretations of the cards. And they're often very different from other folks' interpretations. And I found that Barbara is like this weird kind of middle ground for some of the cards, where I figured out how to connect Lindsay's interpretations with a more traditional interpretation, and how to like work with the energies and think through the cards that way. So yeah, I think that was really cool, and I would definitely recommend. So that's my top 2, not 5, tarot books of 2018. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to see the rest of my responses to the prompts throughout the month of January.